Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for an MP webinar covering recruiting in 2023, trends and innovative solutions for success. I'm Katie Crater, Marketing Specialist here at MP. For those of you joining us on a webinar for the first time, MP is a full-service human capital management company. We offer a complete suite of products and services to support organizations through the entire employee lifecycle, including recruiting, HR, payroll, benefits administration, time and attendance, and compliance assistance. We support our clients with cutting-edge technical solutions, as well as proactive, reliable service and a deep HR and payroll expertise. At MP, we are wired for HR and help our clients succeed by aligning their people strategy with their business goals. I'm excited to introduce your presenters for today's program, Erica Sutton and Jason Armata. Jason is the Sales Director for Recruiting Services at MP. He has close to 20 years of sales experience in agency staffing and technology industry. Prior to joining MP, Jason held leadership and partnership roles working with clients across all industries, including small business, mid-market, and Fortune 500 companies. Erica is the Director of Recruiting Services at MP. She has been in the talent acquisition field for over 10 years, holding various positions in agency staffing and corporate talent acquisition. Prior to joining MP, Erica was the Senior Director for the talent acquisition team of a noted global company. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Southern Indiana. And just a few housekeeping issues before we get started here today. If you would like to submit a question during the program, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. We will be sending out a recording of the webinar later today, along with the presentation slides. And a quick legal disclaimer, this training is intended for educational and informational purposes. While we hope you learn a lot today, we are not attorneys and the information should not be construed as legal advice. So with all of that, I'm going to hand the mic off to Erica.
Thank you, Katie, and good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate you joining us today and are especially feeling the love since it's Valentine's Day. Had to get that in there for you today. In today's webinar, we'll be discussing some key talent acquisition tactics to help you define your strategy in 2023 and beyond. We'll start with some tips to optimize your job posting, the goals, what to include, and what draws the most attention with job seekers. We'll then move into some current trends stemming off of the pandemic's drive to remote, in-office, and hybrid models of working. And finally, we'll wrap up today's session with discussing top recruiting tools available in technology, with data, and around relationship building in your full talent acquisition strategy. While posting a job is just one of the many ways to identify talent for an open position, it's still the most common way to find a candidate. A job posting and job description should be two separate things. Your internal job description typically lists all of the duties of the job. A job posting really has three main objectives. One, to quickly engage the job seeker. Two, to define what is required to do the job. And three, sell your company. A quick Google search of poorly written job descriptions will net out some very humorous and concerning reads for you. To ensure you don't end up in one of those searches, it's important to follow internal HR policies when writing an effective job posting. An effective job posting will provide enough detail for the candidates to determine if they're qualified for the position, but not to overwhelm them with too much information or the acronym we all know and love of TLDR, too long, didn't read. Not only that, but according to the Indeed survey recently, 52% of job seekers say the quality of a job posting is very or extremely influential on their decision to apply for a job. So let's move on to discuss the items we see as necessary in a well-written job posting. First, the most basic requirement, but also one of the most critical, is the job title, of course. It's important to make the job title specific and searchable. Stick to standard language. So think the word senior versus just SR with a period. or the word senior as opposed to a level 3. An external job title needs to be one that potential applicants can find and understand. Data shows that job seekers are searching for job titles on search engines. If your job title is not titled correctly, how are they going to find it? So think to yourself, what would I type in to find this job? So example for myself and my organization, a poorly written title may be Talent Delivery Specialist. To you, what does that mean? It could mean many different things. It could mean a recruiter, it could mean a sourcer, it could mean a recruiting coordinator, as opposed to titling that job recruiter, which is the intended title for that position. So thinking to yourself, what would I type in to search this job? What would many type in to find a recruiter position? Probably recruiter. Secondly, opening with a strong attention-grabbing summary of the job. Hook your applicant with details about what makes the role within the company unique. This is your first introduction to your company and your employer brand. So don't be afraid to talk culture at the very beginning. So ideally, this would sound similar across all of your postings and positions to help drive your employment brand. So really having that job posting template to utilize from job to job is critical in ensuring your employment brand is consistent throughout. Next, we recommend listing the core responsibilities and duties of the job. Make it clear what the person in the role is expected to do or be responsible for. Highlight the day-to-day activities of the position, which allows candidates to see themselves in the role. Be specific around the goals of the position and how it fits into the company. What defines success for this person in the position? So this, again, allows the candidate to see themselves in the role. Here's where you need to be careful. This is where you can see the too long didn't read aspect come into play. You don't want to lose your job seeker due to too many responsibilities listed. Save that for the internal job description, which you could review during the interview process if desired. Next, include a list of hard and soft skills that you envision a successful new hire would possess. While you may be tempted to list out every requirement you envision for your ideal hire, including too many qualifications and skills could disengage potential candidates. For an example, according to an Indeed survey, 63% of candidates said they chose not to apply for the job because they felt like they didn't know that they fit the specific tools or skills listed in the job description. A further 47% said they didn't apply because they didn't have the specific years experience listed in the job description. That's why it's important to identify the must-have versus the nice-to-have skills and qualifications for the role to encourage a more diverse set of candidates to apply. You've also likely heard the statistics, like I have many times, that say men apply to a job when they meet 60% of the qualifications, but women apply only when they meet 100%. Turns out research has proved that this has to do with not wanting to waste the job poster's time. And while this research is a few years old, widening your talent pool is still a very current topic and will help you in your talent acquisition strategy. Number 5, on any given day on my LinkedIn feed, I can guarantee there's a post that says something along the lines of recruiters include the salary on your job posting. Quality candidates look for opportunities that meet their salary needs. Almost 1 in 4 job seekers say that compensation is the most important part of a job description. Include what's in it for them and perks of working at the company during this area as well. This area, as we'll see in the next slide shared, is the most viewed area of a job posting. I mean, but who's surprised? Lastly, number 6, company culture. Here we'd recommend considering to link your LinkedIn or company page. Again, this is for the too long didn't read job seeker. Job seekers are willing to do their own research on the company if they're interested in the position. Linking to a company's webpage allows quick access for the candidates to see more about what the company has to offer for them. So do your job postings include these top 6 items? What about 3 or 4 of them? Let's take a look at where candidates are spending most of their time on a job posting to know where to get the most bang for your buck. So the question asked in this survey from LinkedIn was, what matters most to you on a job posting or description? So the amounts you see on the very right-hand side are percentages. So when reading a job description, candidates really want to know what's in it for them, what work they'll do, how much they'll make, and whether they can realistically get the job done or not, which are the bar lines shown at the bottom of this graph. Where are they spending less of their time? In the company details, in the career growth, the mission statement, culture, etc., which to me, you'd think they would really be interested in those items. But this is why linking to a company's website or your values on your company's website may save you time and on posting links in your job posting. As part of the job details, another trending topic and job posting area is the work location. This has been a hot area since the pandemic forced a dependence on remote work, and companies have worked since to define their work location standards. So let's review a few current trends here. So are you asking yourself now, does the work location even matter anymore? It does. Remote or hybrid jobs receive up to 7 times more applicants than those with required in-office work location. According to a new study by job search site JobList, about half, 49%, of millennials surveyed want to fully work remote, whereas only 27% of Generation Z or Gen Zers feel the same way. They're much more likely than the average to be seeking in-person work opportunities. Oddly, Gen X and baby boomers feel less impassioned about remote options. Only 40% of either group indicated their ideal workplace setting should be remote. This is likely largely due to the stage of life these generations may be in, but it's a trend to continue to follow. In our data, we see that flexibility and working hours is more important to people than flexibility and where people work. People are really looking to shape their jobs around their lives. If you can offer that, if you can have on-site work, you're probably going to keep and attract more people. The key is here to being able to be flexible to a degree and widen that talent pool for your organization. I'm going to take the next few minutes to review some of the pros and cons of a hybrid work model. Here at MP, we operate in this model. Some days our offices are packed with people collaborating on a client implementation or sharing ideas and best practices for hiring. Other days, our teams are working remotely, checking off tasks to accomplish our business goals. The key is learning how to balance this and how to clearly set expectations up front. The shift to remote work in 2020 was abrupt and driven by necessity. But now companies have a chance to be more intentional in their approach to how they work. Best practices when developing an effective hybrid workplace model include getting employee buy-in early. Communication is transparent, early, and often. Clearly communicating the value of the chosen model and enabling managers to answer questions from their team. Investing in the right tools, technology, and equipment. Productivity and communication tools that are mobile-enabled and device-agnostic. Providing equipment for a safe and healthy work from home office, such as large monitors, supportive desk chairs, and standing desks. Focusing on employee experience and maintaining a positive and engaged culture. So getting employees feedback through listening tools and demonstrating action. Holding consistent team check-ins and career progress meetings, so utilizing that technology for video conferencing. Offering continuous education opportunities for employees and managers alike. So communicate available learning and development opportunities across the organization, offer great learning content in a variety of modes to meet diverse needs. And then tracking goals and performance metrics, improve employee performance with performance management, ongoing dialogue, and continuous development. On the screen, you've likely been reading, as I've been talking, all the pros and cons around the happy medium hybrid work. So of course, on the pros side, you've got potential increased productivity, happy, engaged employees, definitely a wider talent pool to choose from. On the con side, it's harder to communicate and collaborate with remote employees at times. There are increased security risks that need to be taken into account. And then your managers have to effectively know how to manage a remote workforce, which is why all those tips and tricks were shared. So before I move forward and kick off the presentation to my teammate, Jason, I'd like to take a moment to do a quick survey of everyone we've got on the line now. So I'm going to launch a quick poll here that you should be able to see on your screen now. The question is, so applying the learnings from today's webinar, how many headcount are you looking to hire in 2023 within your organization? So choices are 0, we are not looking to hire this year, 1 to 10, 11 to 25, or 25 plus. So if you could select one of those answers there, and I will then be able to see the results. Okay, we've got about half of the registrants already completed. Give it just a few more minutes. Okay, it looks like most people have answered. Looks like 61% of you are looking to hire 25 plus employees this year, with 12% in the 1 to 10 range and 25% in the 11 to 25 range. So obviously hiring is an important initiative for your organizations, as over 63% of our attendees need to hire 25 plus in 2023. And I can share those results there with you so you can see them. And I will stop sharing. Okay. Jason, I think I can turn it over to you now to cover some of our most exciting topics, which is recruiting tools for success in 2023.
Thanks, Erica. Fantastic information. And thank you for everyone participating in the webinar today and the poll. I think it's helpful for everyone to see some of that data and also see what some of their peers are doing. So at this stage, what we're going to do is cover some tools for success for all of you that are out there. So in addition to some of the information that Erica just shared, really looking at things like recruiting data, different tools that are available, including applicant tracking systems, to really get to know, what your processes are bringing you as far as results, and where you can also manage your process to increase your success rates. We'll talk a little bit about some modern screeners with technology and resources available. There's some things you can do to really filter through, identify candidates that you would like to proceed with, maybe filter out some that don't necessarily qualify for the job, and really save you and your team some time. Relationship management. This is a key one for anyone that's been in the recruiting space internally, externally for years. There's two sides to all the hiring that goes on. There's the individual hiring managers. Those could be yourselves, people that you report to internally in your organization, as well as the candidates. One of the biggest things we see with a lot of candidates on the recruiting side, the feedback is often they don't hear back from companies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and why that's such an important piece to the puzzle here. And then available technology. This is an ever-changing space. There's a lot of technology that comes available on a monthly, annual basis. We'll try to sift through some of that today and give you some of our feelings on what might be some of the best tools out there that you can utilize. So we'll talk a little bit more about data-driven hiring. Without data guiding your efforts, you'll find it a little bit more difficult to keep up with organizations that might collaborate a little bit better on this. So they can see metrics, they can see where they've had success as far as, hiring individuals, different companies or industries they've hired from. One tool that is very helpful with that is an applicant tracking system. Here you can see on the screen, this is actually an applicant tracking system that we utilize and offer to some of our clients. Some of the key things you're going to want to look for in an applicant tracking system, and there's many you can go out to in the marketplace to purchase. They can come with a hefty price tag. There's some like our ATS that don't have as many bells and whistles, but does carry some of the key things you're going to look for when you're trying to manage this process. First and foremost, it saves you time for value-added work. So, the less touches you have to do with an applicant tracking system, the better it is for you. If you're managing this manually through email, through spreadsheets, having everything all in one place and easily accessible with a couple clicks is a huge help to any organization. Better overall overview of applications. So again, being able to see the number of applicants that are coming in for a particular position. Let's say you've got an accounting role and two levels, a staff level and maybe an accounting manager role that you're hiring for your organization. You see that the accounting manager role is getting a lot more applicants than the junior level position. Maybe it's time to go back and revisit that job application. Maybe you want to verify that it's been pushed out to the appropriate resources for advertising. Different things you can take a look at and that will bring to your attention. Easy job postings. Any good applicant tracking system should have the ability to push out your jobs that you're posting in your ATS out to the various sites out there that will advertise it. You should be able to improve your cost per hire. Again, we're looking for efficiencies, ways to automate and make this a much more seamless process for everyone involved. And again, applicant tracking systems don't only benefit you, let's say in HR, they benefit your hiring managers, and it should also benefit the applicants. You have the ability with a lot of ATSs to keep applicants up to date as to where they are in the process. If they're still in process, if you're looking to decline them or move them forward even to the onboarding stage, you can see that with different solutions out there. Faster and better decisions. Again, being able to keep track and know who's in process and who you want to move forward with an offer. Again, I mentioned the candidate experience. This is a big part to this on the ATS side, and we'll talk a little bit more on the relation management side. Easy interviewing scheduling. I know when I've done interviewing for my organization or previous positions, I've been in a situation where either it's a click and set up and everyone's coordinated for an interview, or I'm sending out 5 or 6 emails asking for everyone's availability, the candidate, the hiring manager, myself, and with an applicant tracking system, you can take those steps out. And then auto generation of accurate reporting. As your company grows, or even if you're just looking again to automate and streamline processes, you're going to have senior level management that might come to you and say, okay, what success have we had with a particular position? Last time we hired for this position. A lot of times organizations will hire for a role and then maybe they don't have to do it again in 2 years from now. Maybe you'll want to go back and see those trends and see if there's something that you can repeat for having success on this upcoming hire. So next we'll talk a little bit about modern screeners. Modern screeners are tools, again, that are out there that can help you to identify candidates. Video platforms, candidate assessments. A lot of the websites that you post jobs to, Indeed, for example, can give you resources to actually ask questions of those applicants. I know a lot of companies aren't in a position right now where they have to filter through hundreds of candidates or resumes. That it might be for certain positions. A lot of you are maybe lucky to get 5 or 6. But if with an applicant screener, you have the ability for those maybe high volume positions where you do see a lot of resumes, you can screen out those that maybe don't have a certain qualification, a degree, maybe by location. So there's different things you can do that as well. Video interviewing. This has become a very popular tool for employers that are looking to have individuals either create their own presentation of their skill set and resume prior to even interviewing, or even obviously, as we all know with Zoom, this is due to the pandemic become a huge tool to actually set up a 15-20 minute call, as opposed to having someone come in the office and spend an hour or two with them. Something that can really streamline your process when you're going through and interviewing. One thing I'll highly recommend here, just from personal experience, where we're doing a lot of hiring and growing here internally at MP, I would stress that if you do plan on doing some video screening, I would encourage that you do turn your cameras on, show a good presentation for yourself and the company, and then encourage the candidate to do that as well. I think that's a big factor in kind of building those relationships with anyone you're considering to bring onto your organization. And with that, we can go over to the next phase, which is relationship management. So relationship management, this is a twofold piece, as I mentioned earlier. This is not only your internal relationships with hiring managers, HR, but also with the candidates. It's open communication. Obviously, there's only so much you can disclose to candidates for compliance issues. You want to be careful what you're sharing, but you also want to keep them very much aware of where they stand in the process. I personally, when I've been in a job search in the past, one of the biggest benefits I've actually seen as a candidate is actually knowing, after I sent a resume in, that the company actually received it. Again, tying back to an applicant tracking software, some of the applicant tracking software that's out there will have you set up a template. So when someone does apply to one of your jobs or through one of the websites, they'll actually receive an auto-generated email, just letting them know that you've received their resume and that it's in process. I actually used to tag a lot of the applications that I had sent out in the past to see what would actually come back. And I'd actually keep that in my consideration of whether that's an employer I could potentially want to work for, and how they treat their potential new hire employees. But as far as communication internally, it's important to make sure that you understand what your hiring managers are looking for, and what hard and soft skills they're looking for, what process they'd like to have. Every hiring manager has a different process that they'd like to follow when interviewing. Some might want to do a phone screen first. Some might want to do an in-person interview as soon as they can. Someone might want to set up a second interview for an additional deeper dive. Understanding that each potential hiring manager in your organization has a different process is important to understand. This also helps with the communication process as you're going to share candidates. You can then highlight what those particular candidates' skill sets have they've shared on any screening calls or in their applicant process. Also on the individual candidate side, communicating. So if you're an HR recruiting professional, I know you're all overwhelmed. I know there's a lot going on. I know there's a lot of jobs on your current docket. I can see by the poll results that a lot of you are still planning to hire quite a bit, and you might be short with resources. But taking the time to proactively reach out to a candidate before they reach out to you to check in and see what the status of a hiring manager's decision is going to give you a lot of value when that candidate's looking at you in comparison to other companies, because it is still very much an employee-driven market, a candidate-driven market, where the majority, aside of what you're reading in the news, the majority of candidates are still out there actively seeking positions, do have multiple opportunities and multiple offers that they can decide through. And again, this all can help be benefited along with using technology like an applicant tracking system. So regarding technology that's out there, a lot of this is going to be familiar to many of you, but if you look at all the different tools that are provided, if you can combine everything as part of your candidate search function, you're going to tend to see higher results. So with LinkedIn, LinkedIn has a lot of different tools that you can utilize as part of your recruiting approach. You could post a job on there. directly with LinkedIn. You can share a link to your actual website or your applicant tracking system, or your applicant tracking system can push out a link to a job to your LinkedIn profile. You can have different people within your organization reshare job descriptions to the network. That's a big one that I've seen not only here at MP, but other organizations, is really asking and encouraging your team members to share those jobs, because sometimes you don't always know who's looking at your feed, but someone else's feed that might have some interest in the job. There's tools you can purchase, although it is expensive. You can purchase something like a LinkedIn Recruiter, the Indeed professional search function. There's different ways you can allocate costs, if you have those budgets, to push out and attract more attention. Personal network. A lot of you go to networking events. In addition to selling your product, talking about your organization, one thing that should always be top of mind for anyone, whether they're in the marketing, the finance, or in the HR department, is what different positions are we hiring for right now. Keep that in mind as you're going through an event. If you're going to a networking event, a conference, having a couple of those in mind can only help benefit your organization if you're able to introduce someone to a new opportunity within your company. Professional organizations. One thing, having worked quite a bit over the years, staffing, accounting, and finance professionals, that's been a great resource, is the AICPA. Not only attending their events, but they also, up until recent years, I believe still, they have job posting functionality. So a lot of those professional organizations that you may belong to, you might want to tap into them for offering some candidate exposure for your organization. Colleges or universities, you could look at your own alma mater, or really just colleges in your area that you've seen success with. Again, maybe from that data you pull from your applicant tracking system, you can see where you've had some success with local colleges or universities where employees are currently have come from, that are in your company, and you can advertise directly with some of those colleges or universities. Job posting websites, again, there's so many out there. We couldn't list all of them on one page, but you should find those that, again, can be pushed out through your website, through your applicant tracking system, or some that you can go to post directly to. Although there are some that are free, the majority of them do come with a cost, either on a per job posting, or it's some type of annual subscription. And then social media. Again, with a lot of the tools that are out there, the nice thing about an applicant tracking system or a LinkedIn job posting, it does give you the ability to push your jobs out through Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I've even seen in some cases Facebook. Utilize as many of those resources as you can to really attract the best talent for your organization. So now this is where we can talk a little bit more about how MP can help. We understand that not every company is in a financial and/or resource position to implement all of these best practices, but that's hopefully where we can come in and contribute. MP has the ability to not only offer HR consulting services with SHRM certified professionals and applicant tracking software that we've mentioned a couple times here today. MP has a robust outsourced recruiting service that can also save you valuable time and money, helping you fill a wide range of professional positions. On average, we can save your company with a very unique approach to the staffing model. We can save you about 40 to 60% over those traditional internal and outsourced recruiting costs. As part of our recruiting offerings, we can support you with all the tools and resources that we described here today for a fraction of the cost. We often talk about how much it does cost for a LinkedIn recruiter seat. With our solution and offerings, you can see a lot of these tools with significant savings, and also have a dedicated recruiter or recruiters as an extension of your team. So we do have recruiters on staff that have well over 10 years on average of talent acquisition experience, working with all size companies, really across all specializations and industries. So again, we hope that you will take some of this information, apply it. We're happy to take any follow-up conversations or meetings. We can send out some information relative to this webinar and set up meetings if you want to discuss your process and your hiring plans for this coming year. Potentially there's a way that we can step in and also help with some of your needs throughout the year. So I think right now we're going to take some questions. If they're available, we'll see if there's any that have been chatted in here.
Yeah, it looks like, Jason, there's one that I see here. And what's your advice on posting the salary? So obviously somebody is like me and checks out their LinkedIn and sees all the posts that's like recruiters or companies post the salary. Do you obviously recommend that occurs?
So again, I think it's personal opinion. I know you talked a little bit about this earlier. I think you do have the option of posting the salary to make sure that you're attracting talent that at least fits, the need that you have, and you don't necessarily want to waste your internal team's time or candidates' time. So there are some benefits. The one downside I would say with sometimes posting the job salary on there, and a lot of people can probably laugh a little bit because they've been on the side of this conversation on one way or the other. If you put a job out there that, let's say, has a salary range of 110 to 130, well, I can tell you that the hiring manager at your company is thinking, I want to hire someone at 110. And the candidate that's looking at that job description is saying, oh, great, this job can pay me 130. So it can potentially cause some discrepancies. But if you are not, or if you are looking to tighten up your candidate pool, depending on how many applicants you're seeing, that's one way to do it, is by including the actual salary range. But again, there are pros and cons to it. I think that's something that as a team you have to decide, and you might have to do some beta testing on it as well and seeing what works and doesn't work when you're putting out these job descriptions.
I'd agree, Jason, as well. I think too, it's important to take into account like the compliance aspect as well. While it's trending, with people talking about posting salary, it's also trending in legislature. And I know that MP and our HR services team offers the ability to take a look to make sure that you're in compliance for posting salary on your positions, whereas sometimes it's a state regulation, city regulations that need to be taken into account as well, that if you're not posting a salary range or specific information on your job postings, you're actually, out of compliance there. So that's something else to consider in working with HR. And if that isn't an option, MP's offering of HR services to ensure that you are in compliance and not having to pay, fees for not posting when you should be. So that was a really good question to ask.
So I see another question that came in here on the chat, asking about, it'd be helpful to know as an employer if we knew where our target candidates look for jobs. In other words, what sites do they go to? Indeed, Monster, ZipRecruiter. It does vary. And again, this does tie back to how effective that job description is. I know that a lot of candidates, if they see a lengthy job description, they might just click off of it and go to the next one. It does depend on the industry that a particular individual is seeking. I think the number one job site out there right now that seems to have the most traction and most employers go to, as far as a retail job site, in other words, where you can just go and post jobs and offers no other services, is probably Indeed. I'd say LinkedIn is it's a different solution because you have a lot of people that are on there constantly just as a social networking tool. But the Indeed job postings seem to be highly utilized by a majority of employers. There is a cost associated with those. So again, you have to take that into consideration as well when you're looking at budgets. But for professional positions, Indeed and LinkedIn do tend to carry the majority of professional positions out there. And I think that's where most candidates will typically go. Ultimately, what I would say, though, is in this market, you're going to find that a lot of your peers will say that they don't see the volume of resumes coming in from any site as they may have 10 and 12 years ago. You don't have as many people proactively going out there and looking on the job sites and submitting resumes. Most people will still tend to find their jobs either through their network or through someone tapping on them on the shoulder and saying, hey, have you heard about this company in this particular position? So definitely something else to keep in mind. Erica, any other questions? That see here, another one. Oh, okay, this is actually so I have a limited budget. What are the most cost-effective solutions for me with recruiting tools? Again, limited budget is relative. So if you're talking about a couple $100, I think that's when you're going to really have to rely heavily on your network and a lot of the free solutions out there. If you've got the ability to go out and purchase an applicant tracking system, pay for recruiters. There's a lot of different things you can see out there that will offer that. You, on average, for a recruiter, a direct hire recruiter, traditional agency, you can pay anywhere from 25 to 30% per placement based on that person's salary that they hire. That can be a pretty significant cost in addition to an applicant tracking system, as well as maybe an internal recruiter that you have on staff. There is some value to that, but you may want to look at some resources out there that might have some of the similar functionality relative to doing a lot of that same sourcing. Again, our outsourced recruiting model does offer a lot of those same functionalities with significantly less costs.
Okay, Jason, I think I got them all. There is one more that just came in. What are the keywords or search terms you suggest to put in a job that pulls across search results? Is it useful to use keywords or related terms at the bottom of the posting? So to answer this, you want to really look for the search engine optimization in listing your job title throughout your job posting. So if you're looking for a recruiter, you're posting it as the job title recruiter, but also in that intro paragraph, you are listing recruiter a couple of times in the intro paragraph and throughout the posting. Not to like overwhelm them with reading the word recruiter as they read through it. It obviously needs to make sense as you read it, but mentioning the job title throughout the posting will allow it to show a bit more in the search engine optimization tactics that the job sites use. So not really any keywords because folks aren't searching for keywords, they're searching by job title. So I think taking a look at, what is a similar job posted as, so like recruiter, talent acquisition, partner, talent acquisition coordinator, TA specialist, those are all common names for a recruiter. But and historically, people type in recruiter when they go look for it. So, and then making sure it's listed throughout the posting a few times so it pulls on those search engines. That's the best advice that I have and what I've experienced in working with employment brand. Jason, would you add anything there?
No, I think that's right on point. And I think there are some search engines out there that will aggregate data. So if there's, similar to like you might put hashtags on a social media post, you can include, a word bank at the bottom, but typically most search engines now will aggregate a lot of that data right from the actual body of the text. So we got time for 1 or 2 more questions if anyone has them. Otherwise, we can start to wind things down here.
Okay. Looks like all of them have come in. So Katie, we'll pass it back to you to wrap us up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erica and Jason. To learn more about NP's full service solutions and their NP recruiting, please visit our website, To learn more, you can also reach out to Jason and Erica. Their information is on the screen currently, and we will include that in our follow-up email that we send out this afternoon. You can visit our website or call the phone numbers that were up on the screen. Be sure to join us tomorrow for our upcoming webinar on pay transparency laws, best practices, and alerts for compliance. Visit our website to register and to see the full calendar of upcoming events and available resources. Again, we will be sending out the recording of today's webinar along with the presentation slides this afternoon. Thanks for joining us and have a terrific day.